Welcome to Stubs with Jason. Stubs. Hey people, welcome to Stubs with Jason, where I discuss movies, music, TV, pretty much all kinds of things on all kinds of screens. Finally getting time to get my thoughts down on the Foo Fighters show I went to at Great American Ballpark down in Cincinnati. This is the third time that I've seen the Foo Fighters. I saw them in 2011 at Nationwide Arena for the Wasting Light Tour. Then I saw them in 2018 at Wrigley Field for the Concrete and Gold Tour. That was on night 2. And this year I saw them, like I said, at the Everything or Nothing at All Tour 2024. So just a little bit of background. Aside from being told that I look like Dave Grohl regularly, I mean, literally, even when I went to this show, I was standing outside with my sister waiting for some people to meet us. And one of the water vendors on the corner started shouting Dave at me. Yeah. Just the thing. It's just either some of you see it and you're like, yep, it's there. Or you don't see it and you're like, don't know what this guy is talking about. Anyway, the Foos have been one of my favorite bands for a long time. Going back to, I'd say, when I heard Monkey Wrench was the first single that I heard that really made me be like, who's this band? I gotta find out who these guys are. I know that puts me a little behind some of the hardcores, like the people who followed Nirvana so closely that they would have known. I was probably at the age where I should have known those things. I just wasn't, and music hadn't like fully clicked for me yet. But the Foo Fighters, they were one of the bands that I started to enjoy, that started to make music kind of turn that corner in my life where it was like, this is just a little more than just the stuff that I put on in the background when I'm riding in a car or doing whatever, right? Like, the real love of music really started coming from this. But then, oddly enough, yeah, so when I got into that album that had Monkey Wrench, you know, color and shape and everything, I went back and I got their first album, which is their self-titled, which, if you guys don't know, the Foo Fighters' first album is literally all Dave Grohl. Like, Dave does everything on that. He recorded it after Kurt died just to kind of get his head right, and eventually started recruiting other musicians, and then that is what grew into the Foo Fighters. But yeah, first album, 100% Dave, which is cool. But yeah, I got that first album, and of course I noticed immediately, like, Big Me and I'll Stick Around and This Is a Call, right? And I was like, oh, sweet, I know these songs. I know like a quarter of this album already. I didn't even have to try, right? Back in the good old days when you'd listen to a whole album and it was like your goal to learn the whole thing, because it was like, well, that's how I know it's a good album, and that's how I know I love these guys, right? I'm going to go all in. Sorry. That's definitely an old man rant that I know most of the younger listeners don't understand. It's just not the same. Unless you're a Swiftie, then you've taken it too far. in the right direction, just way past that line, probably. Anyway, as far as the rest of the Foo Fighters, like I said, band that really kind of were part of my formative years as far as developing a real love for music. They've had 11 studio albums, I think, 10 or 11. And I would say, if you want to break all those down, Color and Shape and Wasting Light are the top of the pile. Like, they're S tier, they're elite albums. Like, they are almost front to back perfect. Really great. Really, really great albums. Then I'd say the next is an A tier, and I would throw Nothing Left to Lose, One by One, Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. They all fall in there. Like, the majority of those albums are really good from front to back. In addition to having, like, crazy strong singles. After that, though, we go from A tier. I think we drop down to C tier, because I think In Your Honor, Sonic Highways, Concrete and Gold, and even that first self-titled album, there are good songs on there. And obviously they got pretty good singles, but there's a lot of what I would call kind of uninspired filler on there. So they just kind of drop to that lower level for me. And then we drop down to a D tier, which is kind of generous, but I mean, like, I could listen to this album, and it's called Medicine at Midnight, and I think it's easily their worst album. It dropped in 2021. Honestly, I literally forgot this album existed. Like, there's one good song that I enjoy on it. It's a banger called No Son of Mine. It's got a real chuggy guitar riff, and I enjoy it. It's a pretty good song, and they played it at the show, and I thought it was great. But to be completely honest with you, I like, in my mind, I put it on a different album. I was like, I thought it was on a different album than this one. I definitely forgot this album happened. After that, though, like, the effing unthinkable happened, and Taylor Hawkins passed away, and I gotta say, like, I'm crushed. Like, I was heartbroken. Like, I had always enjoyed him, and I've watched all kinds of documentaries and, videos and movies and, all kinds of things with these guys. And to see the love in the relationship that Taylor Hawkins and Dave Grohl had, it was one of the most beautiful relationships you'd ever see in music. It's so great when you see any people, it could be two or more, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, right? Like, when you see that kind of relationship where it's like, these are two musicians who are meant to be in each other's lives, they can do very special things. And I know Taylor Hawkins didn't sit and write a ton of Foo Fighters songs. He did write songs, though. He went and played in multiple other side projects and could actually sing fairly. Like, he could have definitely landed on his own as a singer, writing rock and roll style songs if he wanted to. But, he left Alanis Morissette back in the 90s and joined the Foo Fighters and changed everything pretty much from that point, right? Yeah, I said Alanis Morissette. That is who Taylor Hawkins was touring with, and that's who he was jamming with before he left to go and join the Foo Fighters. Anyway, heartbroken. I was under the impression this should have been when the band stopped. Like, they had a great run. They had put together wonderful music. But they also had just released what I thought was their worst album. And, that could be, you got a whole variety of reasons as to what could be doing that, Typically, it's like, it just seems like Dave doesn't know how to, like, stop, let a little bit of life happen. So he has something to draw on when he goes and writes. Sometimes he just thinks, I'm going to plow through this one way or another. And a couple of those albums that I'm not crazy about are like, he just started falling in love with, like, engineering and developing sounds more so than writing good songs. And I mean, I get it. I write and record music, and I love stumbling into sounds and tinkering with all of that. But, like, at the root of it, you got to have something that you're playing for. Time had passed. They didn't say they'd really known what they were going to do. They played an incredible benefit show out in L.A., had all kinds of guests and everything. I was still hoping they would hang it up, though. And they didn't. They go and they record another album. But even before that, I think I can't remember the timing of all of that, but, like, they record another album, which I'm going to say, the latest album, But Here We Are, I think it's a great album. Like, definitely in that A tier. I really enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, again, Dave has a lot to talk about. Not only did Taylor Hawkins pass away, but he lost his mom, and he's had a really, his relationship with his mom was very strong, and, he had a great relationship with his mom from what it sounds like, and she always encouraged him with his music and everything like that. He had a lot to say, and it comes out on that album, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's a really good album. If you haven't listened to But Here We Are, they got tons of lyric videos out there on YouTube. I mean, actually, the Foo Fighters YouTube channel is definitely a great thing to get out there and subscribe to. Just take a look across everything they've done over the years. There's a lot of good on there. So they get this album out. I do enjoy that. I'll be, but then, what do they, Dave can't help himself. So he gets another drummer and he's like, we're going to tour. So I don't love that. I get it, because he can't stop. He's just one of those, he just can't stop. And I've got a buddy who really hates that, that he's just like, doesn't even seem like Dave took time to mourn, which is a lot, and again, it's like, some people just got to keep moving, because if they stay in that place, again, this is the second time, I assume Taylor Hawkins had some kind of drug overdose that occurred. So this is the second time that Dave Grohl has lost a very important bandmate or a very close friend in his life to something tragic like this. And that's a lot, but anyway, I had heard stories out there about they went and they played their first few sets. And, for years, the Foo Fighters have closed with Everlong, which Everlong is the song that forced them into needing to find a new drummer to begin with, because when they went to record it on Color and Shape, the drummer that was working with them from the first album, or from the first tour that they did in between the self-titled album and Color and Shape, couldn't do it. Just couldn't hang with it. So Dave had to let him go. Because, again, imagine sitting in that, sitting on that throne in front of Dave Grohl and saying, okay, I'm going to play this song you wrote. Good luck, Anyways, so Taylor Hawkins comes in, crushes it. Absolutely crushes it, by the way. His, that performance, the 2018 show, well, both of those shows that I got to see that band, that lineup perform with, were just incredible sets, and Taylor was incredible. Dave was in the band, just so good. So I was not pumped about the prospect of ever seeing the Foo Fighters again, to be honest with you. But tours information started coming out, and I don't know, just kind of had a conversation with my little group of buddies, and it was just like my group of friends, my bro chat. And, we had to figure out, all right, is this something we want to do? So we did. And so not everybody was going to make it, or we kind of bought it hoping that maybe everybody could make it. But if not, we knew at least 3 of us were going to be there, and we would fill and figure out from there. Well, this date, like many concert dates, sits so far out on a calendar for me. And I look at those dates on those calendars, and more often than not anymore, I'm not looking forward to concerts. Well, one of the guys had to drop out. So now we're trying to fill the 4th. And it's like, well, crap. Which, again, I know you're like, oh, well, that should be, super easy. Yeah, well, gotta be in a car for a few hours with this person. so I'm a little picky. My sister ends up coming with me, which is cool, which, works out. We have a great time together, and all that. So, all right. So show starts up, which, by the way, we hit killer traffic. So where I think it was the Pretenders and Wolfgang Van Halen were the opening acts, who I wanted to see, didn't get to see either of them because of traffic. So that was awful. That was a bummer. Finally get in. It's still daylight outside, which, daggone it, you guys heard me on my other concert review. There should be a law that concerts can't start until the sun is down. It's just not the same, people. Anyway, so We all get to our seats. We got a pretty good spot. They start going through their set. First 5 or 6 songs they play, like All My Life, That No Son of Mine. They do some Black Sabbath and Metallica riffs built into there. They do a song off that latest album called Rescued. They do The Pretender, Walk, Times Like These. Like, they're crushing it. Then they go into Generator off Nothing Left to Lose. We're flying, and it's great. And honestly, the band sounds great. And Dave comes out, and man, he is just an Energizer bunny. He has just so much juice to give still, and he is carrying. Like, not that everyone else isn't doing their part. Everybody, Nate, Pat, all those guys are playing. It all sounds good. It's pretty darn good. I would say there's a little bit of mixing that I'm not crazy about, but we're at Great American Ballpark. In the way, that they're facing the stage, some of it I'm sure bounces out and goes out towards the river, and all that stuff. Part of it is just figuring out the acoustics of the ballpark and everything. But really, overall, no complaints. They sound pretty darn good, and they are performing very well at this point in time. Well, after Generator, they go to a song called La Di Da, which is off Concrete and Gold. And it's just this cool little groove, like, just got this great hook. You know what I mean? And then it just kicks into like a double time rock song, kind of like Monkey Wrench. Like, it was one of my favorite songs on the album. So I was glad to get to hear it again because I saw it a few years back. But it was the first time in the night I'm like, this drummer's dragging a little bit. Like, it's not terrible, but I'm hearing like, okay. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, I'm kind of looking for flaws with this guy, right? Like, I'm kind of looking for, I don't want it to be that way, but like, he's got an impossible task, right? Like, he's replacing one of my favorite musicians as far as drummers go, like, and that's just what it is. That's just what it is. So they do break out, and then the band, they kind of do like, they're doing band introductions at this point in time. So like the different people are playing different parts. They do like some Sabotage and Blitzkrieg Bop and all kinds of stuff like that. Well, then one of the guitarists, what does he do? He busts into Eruption. And I'm like, dude, you've got a big old pair of balls on you if you're going to start playing Eruption with Eddie Van Halen's son sitting backstage at that moment. Like, I couldn't believe it. So Dave said it, which again, I'm sure this is like an every night thing, but I know they don't have the same opening acts every night, so I don't think they always play with Wolfgang Van Halen. But he did it, and I mean, it sounded good. Most guitarists bust out Eruption that are in bands, or the parts that we all really know, the famous. He did good. And again, so at least he didn't embarrass himself. That would have been, oh God, terrible, right? All right, so after that, this is my moment though where I'm like, somebody wanted me to grab my shirt, and I was like, well, this is the time. Like, I'm gonna go right now. So I did. Well, because you know what it was? They started playing My Hero. And for a while now, Dave does this acoustic version of My Hero, which is fine, but I've seen it that way 3 times. And to be completely honest with you, I really love My Hero. I want the full band version of it. Like, I want that rock version. I really enjoy the rock version. So, go out there, miss part of My Hero, no big deal. Then as I'm coming back, I'm coming back to The Sky is a Neighborhood, which my buddy who was with me was like, this is one of your favorites, right? And I was like, no, this is one of their worst songs. He was like, well, at least I remembered it was one of the two. I knew this song had something to do with you, though. Where we had all, as a group, kind of, we hashed out our top 5 or top 10 at one point in time. You know what I mean? And that was one of the ones where I was just like, oh God, no. just doesn't do much for me. And then it went into Learn to Fly, which is another one that I really don't care for. Like, it's just fine, but I don't know if I just heard it too much or what it is, but it's like, it's just fine. It doesn't do anything. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. They moved on to Arlandria and One of These Days, which are great songs off Wasting Light. Then they did Skin and Bones. They did that acoustic song, which I was surprised, and they had the guy doing the accordion in it, and it worked. They did a song called Under You on, it was just Dave doing that. It's off the latest album. It was just a Dave acoustic. Really good. I did a little bit of Blackbird there by the Beatles. Then they went into This Is a Call, and they did Monkey Wrench. And I gotta say that for the most part of the evening, the guy did okay. Like, as far as the drummer went, like, I can't remember it, he was fine. There were some parts though where he, like if you knew, like, it's just like, oh, well, he kicks on 1 and 3 here. Oh, well, he's only kicking on 1. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't bad, but it was just a little bit of those kind of things. And I'd hear it and I'd be like, it didn't happen on most of the songs. Most of the songs he did great on, but there were just a few songs where it just wasn't quite as tight as I wanted it to be. But the dude was out there. He had really good fills. I'm not a drummer. I'm not like a drum guy. Right? I enjoy the drums. I love rock and roll drums, right? I'm sure a lot of you are like, just yeah, okay, well, Taylor Hawkins is one of your favorite drummers. Like, yeah, Taylor Hawkins is one of my favorite drummers. I'm not saying he's the greatest drummer, but he was one of my favorite drummers. So after Monkey Wrench, there's a big drum solo, and he crushes it, you know what I mean? Really puts it together out there. We're all having a good time. So after that, Dave plays Aurora, which is a song off of Nothing Left to Lose. He dedicates it to Taylor Hawkins. He says, well, this is Taylor's favorite song, which I do seem to remember hearing that. So it's not a big drummy song. It's just kind of a medium tempo song. Like, it's kind of a low key song. But it's a good jam and it's all right. And they did a good job of it. Then after that, they do Best of You, and it's great. And it's, Dave's just belting it out there, and it's beautiful. And, I don't know how many people, if there's 15,000 people there or whatever, I don't know what the attendance was. Getting them all singing and, and it was just a beautiful thing. So that was, then they take their encore break and they come back. And then they do a song called The Teacher, which is off the latest album. And it's, this is a song that Dave wrote for his mom specifically. And I'm sure it means a lot to him. To me, not a great song to put at this point in your set. Just my opinion. Like, I don't know. I you know what I mean? Like, I get that, normally when you do an encore and you're going to do 2 songs, you normally don't do 2 hits, right? Like, you do somewhat of a track, album, or an album track, that wasn't necessarily a single normally. And then you end with your big number, right? You go all out, And as you guys can imagine, after The Teacher, we went into Everlong. And this is where I was really nervous because I don't think I ever finished what I was saying before. But the story of what was happening when they first started playing shows was that they had stopped putting Everlong on this. They weren't playing Everlong at all on their sets. And it was like, oh, well, can your new drummer not do Everlong? And Dave got all bent out of shape, and was just like, oh, well, you guys are all losing your mind. I guess we got to put Everlong back on the set list. We've only been playing it for the last 30 years. And it's like, or, 25 years or whatever he said. It's kind of like, yeah, man, I think it's fair for all of us to kind of expect for you to play Everlong. or retire it. I mean, again, because if you're going to come back out here and you're going to say, yep, we're a whole band, we're doing this still, then you better come out there and perform like you've been performing for the last decade. I know I've seen them, right? And I remember I saw a video of the first couple of times this guy did Everlong, as you know, as they reintroduced it back into their set, and it was not great. Anyway, if you ask drummers, this is a hard song to play because of the speed and the dexterity, and then the endurance that you've got to have to keep this song going at the pace that it plays. And the first video I saw of this guy doing this, I was like, oh gosh, that was rough. It just was. Because, I mean, again, like, he was not playing it. He was just kind of slow counting it, bass counting it. Anyway, that said, absolutely crushed it the night we went to see him. It was one of the best songs he did. Hi-hats were, he played that part perfectly. Everything he really crushed it. And I was, again, I was pretty pumped. And the show ended, then we, got up, got out of town, got home pretty reasonably in, an hour, couple of hours, So driving home though, my sister was with me and she just kept saying, I was not ready for that. And she was super pumped. Like, she had a great time. So we're like, I had a good time and I enjoyed it and it was fun. You know what I mean? Because I love Dave. I do love the Foos. It was a great evening for me, right? But the best part of it for me was 100% the fact that my sister walked away and was like, I didn't realize it was like that with these guys. I didn't realize how great they were. And it was just like, oh, totally worth it. Like, that is 1,000% just totally worth it. You know what I mean? So we went out, had some dinner with her, a couple days ago, and she was, I asked her, I said, she's just like, oh man, she's like telling everyone in the chair. She does cosmetology. She's like, been telling everyone in the chair, everyone I talk to, she's like, it's on my Spotify. I'm all in. And I'm like, this is very awesome. Then, of course, I'm just like, well, if you need like a list of like 40 bangers by these guys, let me know, and I'll build you a Spotify list, and I'll let you know where I rank all their songs. Or at least give you a good set of what I think are absolute 100% required listening from them, right? So that really made my day. So, Great American Ballpark. This was the first concert I saw there. Great experience. If you don't go see a concert there, guys, go see a baseball game there. It is an incredible ballpark. It's only a couple hours away. You can get Reds tickets super cheap almost at any time throughout the summer. It's a great thing to do. It's a great little in Ohio activity you can go and do with your family or friends. Have a great time. Definitely recommend Great American Ballpark. So, to stub or not to stub on the 2024 iteration of the Foo Fighters, I would say stub. If you have never seen the Foo Fighters before, this is still really darn good. And Dave carries and performs and goes so hard. Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Dave still crushes. It's still a lot of fun. The energy that he provides, the performance that they give you, that set list is incredible. That's a great set list. That's like, you're seeing 2.5 hours of music. You are almost guaranteed to be familiar with like almost 2 hours of that set. Maybe an hour and 50 that have been like heavy rotation radio hits are being played. There's just not a lot of that out there. So, yes, fully recommend. Foo Fighters 2024 are still to stub. So with that said, I just kind of want to highlight a circumstance, a situation, and just kind of talk about something here at the end. So, I work from home, and as a result of that, I don't have that driving time every day after work. Which, I don't know about you all, but like driving time, coming home from work, is almost like a daily church where I would just pop on songs and just jam and cleanse all of the crap from my work day and everything else that's going on. And it's just it's just helped me stay regulated, stay level, right? And I haven't had that. And then as I kind of wanted to focus a little more this year on writing some songs, I had also made another like conscious effort to reduce music in my life as far as listening to music, because I just was trying to clear out distractions and clear out potential things that I could find myself falling into as far as songwriting patterns. I trying to up my level of originality, creativity, however you want to say that. English is I'm not an English major. So, I mean, again, it's not that I love music. And I listen to it here or there, and a lot of times it's as simple as like I'll drive 10 minutes down the road, might throw on like 101.7. I do. That is the radio station I listen to for music. I don't listen to 99.7 or what. None of that stuff. It's literally just the classic rock station at this point in my life. It's just what it is, guys. But after this show, I felt, I made a little bit of an effort, and I just kind of started listening to some Foo Fighters again. Not a lot, didn't go crazy with it or anything like that. But I came back into a song off the latest album, and I get super emotional when I listen to this song. It's a song called Rest. And I think for a lot of people, would listen to this song and go, that's kind of a snooze. Just doesn't do a whole lot. It takes a long time to really get anywhere. Even when it gets to that point, does it really do anything interesting? And I would say no. It's pretty straightforward. As a matter of fact, listening to it, structurally, I think Dave copied a Billie Eilish song. It's a song called Happier Than Ever. It's not I know it's a popular song out there. Heard it through my kids. I don't think it's bad. She puts it all out there. It's a pretty good song. This to me is Dave kind of, and I've heard him talk her up before. He's a fan. And I think he kind of follows a similar song structure. Not that it's not a ripoff, but they are similar. Anyways, this song hits me like a ton of bricks, man. Obviously Taylor Hawkins passing away sucks. And I hate that. But I lost a friend too that year. Overdosed. This was a good friend. A complicated dude. He brought challenges. Didn't make it easy for people in his life to love him. Didn't make it easy for people in his life to stay around, to stick with him. He had a good heart. I'd known him for a decade. And even just listening to this song still just cuts right through me. And I am just, when I listen to it, I am overwhelmed. And we listen to the words, Dave is just heartbroken that he's lost his friend. And there's a huge music swell that builds up. And it's just the overwhelming feeling of coping and working through that loss. And the anger that he feels that he's lost his friend to a drug problem, to something preventable. But the hurt that he's gone, I get it. Totally get it. So I'll listen to it I'll cry when I listen to it. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm done. And then I'll listen to it 15 minutes later and go through the whole thing again. Because it's just, I get stuck into those moments. It's called Rest. And, he talks about it's okay, it's over, and you can finally rest from all of that crap that you've been dealing with in this earth. And guys, man, I know we all just deal with so much crap. I'll be the first time. There are times that I'm ready for that rest. And it seems I'm ready to turn all of this awful noise off that we live in. But I also know we have a beautiful world that we live in. And I've got wonderful children, and I've got a great family and tremendous friends, and there's so much to live for. But even with all of that, this place still sucks at times. So when I hear Dave say those words, and he sings those words to that guy, he sings it to his friend, that relief, that sorrow, they're intertwined, It's just heavy. And as I think about it, we're just so damn lucky to have music in this world. We don't even deserve it. We don't. We do not. We don't deserve music. It's perfect and beautiful, and it transcends language, and you don't even need words. You can literally just have music, and music can move you in your heart. Oh, yeah. I know I do a lot of movie reviews on this channel or on this podcast or whatever, and I love movies too, and they can move you just as well, and they can move you without music, just visuals. They're the opposite of this. Although typically their best parts are when there's no dialogue and it's just music and a vision that are moving you. I just wanted to put that out there, that I hope all of you listen to this. I know most of you won't go see a Foo Fighters concert, and that's fine. But I hope all of you take time to listen to music that means something to you, and share that music with the people that you love. Turn off the awful whatever box whatever flipping Fox News or CNN or sports, whatever crap you're out there watching, whatever you're feeding your brain with irrelevant crap for people who don't even care about you. Losing your mind over things that don't matter. Think about the people in your life that do matter, and listen to wonderful music. And listen to good music. And fill your heart and your life with those things. That's how you find happiness. That's how you work through things. Get through to each other. Share those things with each other. All right, guys. This is a long one. That's I'm gonna call it there. 2024 Foo Fighters tour. If you get a chance, go and check them out. If you haven't given the Foo Fighters a big listen, go find those albums. Go find Spotify. Reach out to me. Let me know. I'll happily curate a Foo Fighters playlist for you to listen to. Happily. All right. Hit me up on the socials. Go find me on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you haven't done anything. Send me a message at stubswithjason@gmail.com. But that's it. Till next time, guys. Rock on.
S-T-U-B-S spell Stubs.
Stubs all done.